Welcome to the Inspire Your Event podcast, where we look at unique ideas, solutions to common problems, and speak with amazing professionals in the wedding and event industry. My name is Kevin Snow, owner of Events by Snow DJ Entertainment and 12 Oak Estate Wedding and Special Event Venue. Be sure to follow Events by Snow and 12 Oak Estate on Instagram, and let's have an inspired event. Hey folks, thank you for joining us today on the Inspire Your Event podcast. My name is Kevin Snow, and I'm sitting with Rachel Starling and Rachel Hopkins, and we are at Parcel 32, which is an event venue in Charleston, South Carolina. But you have other event venues that you work with, and you do a lot of things with those. So I'll let you introduce yourselves right quick and tell us more about who you are and your role with the venues.
Sure. So I'm Rachel Hopkins. I'm the senior sales manager here. I've been with Patrick Properties for about 7 years and help our sales team in fielding the incoming leads that we get and interest, and then helping couples or events find the perfect location for them. We do own and operate 5 historic properties throughout downtown Charleston, and our owners are a local couple who basically created this hospitality group through historic preservation, which is their passion. So they started by purchasing properties that are falling apart, renovating them and fixing them up to get them back to their original state, and then we can keep them alive and beautiful by hosting events and weddings. So it's a really special thing to be able to host events and make memories in these historic places.
And I'm Rachel Starling. I am the sales and events manager for just Parcel 32. So I focus on the day of needs, but I also do sell the space. So I pretty know this place like the back of my hand. So it's been really fun, but I did come from the sales office over at the other properties. I've worked with the company for about 4.5 years. So it's been a fun transition for sure to kind of be around the be around the sales office.
Cool. So and then there's at least one other person that I know who helps out and works, because you have 5 different properties, so I'm sure you're staying pretty busy with that. They've got you here on Parcel 32 to just kind of hold down the fort here. How many events do you do on a weekend and in an entire year?
Sure. So in a weekend between the properties, we could have up to 4 events each night, even Friday, Saturday, Sunday. We do have a very extensive culinary team. We do all the food and beverage here, so we have a large events team that all work together and are well versed in all properties, so we can execute as many events as we do end up booking in a night or a weekend. And then I would say on average between all of our properties we host about 500 events a year, give or take.
Yeah.
That's unreal, because that means I'm sure you see a lot of different types of events then, because you're doing corporate events and you're having weddings. And then probably birthdays, anniversaries, and other things going on too. So it's a lot of different types of events. So one thing that's, to me, I've been DJing weddings for 10 years, and now I own a venue as well. And I see a lot of, like when I y'all meet with the clients as soon as they come in, right?
Yes.
Do you ever find that people are coming to you and it's like, so what would you like to do for this? Because everyone's unique, wants to do their own thing. And then they just kind of look back at you and they're just like, well, what's everyone else do?
Yeah.
Yes. I feel like I get that question a lot because with with Parcel 32, we have everything included. So I do know what kind of works best for the space. So if they're come to me and they're like, well, I kind of, I'm visualizing this, and this, and I try to, if that works, then great. But if I try to kind of sway their vision a little bit to match better what works with the space. Mm-hmm. But there are a lot of times where I feel like brides come in with a certain vision and it's based off of a Pinterest or something like that, but we love unique visions and things that are different, and we're really open to custom ideas, especially when it comes to food and beverage, because that's kind of our wheelhouse.
Yeah. Pinterest I think is such a double-edged pro and con kind of thing, because people see all these pictures, they make their Pinterest board, and it's like, yes, but that wedding happened in Arizona and this one was in New York City.
Yeah. Right.
And we are in Parcel 32 in Charleston, and we can maybe pull some of these colors that you like from here, or whatever this decor might be, and then it's like, is it going to fit your budget though? Pinterest usually shows really expensive things, which is fine, but I feel like sometimes it's more I try to dig in and find out what's the couple really about and see how it fits. Okay, But like this is obviously your rain contingency and everything. It's all covered here. Do you have an outdoor space at Parcel 32?
So we have the outdoor piazza. So we usually like keep that door open, and it's kind of but it's completely covered.
Yeah.
So people do like that. But our other properties have a ton of outdoor space.
So that's a real conversation that we have from the beginning. You know, as we tour through the property, we talk about the realities of having a mixed space where it's indoors and outdoors. I mean, our historic properties do have homes, you know, either an old historic mansion from the 1800s or a big estate house from the 1700s. So it's great to use those spaces for some things, but dancing, especially music, always has to be outside naturally, because these historic places can't house, and we don't want people, you know, fist pumping and going till the late hours with the speakers. You can imagine how that would affect the historic nature of the inside. So yeah, we definitely with that want to make sure we've got our rain backup plan in place and just make sure they're comfortable with what that would look like, so that when they commit to a date or property with us, they know what that would be before they even have their day, because Charleston weather, you never know when it might rain.
Yeah. We're in the middle of it.
In the catering that you have, like at the tell me what property, because it's the William Aiken House over here, right?
So we're in Parcel 32, which is a Charleston single home. It's very authentic. It used to be an old bakery, and Starling can attest to all the great history facts here. Directly kind of a few doors down is the American Theater, which is where it all started, where our owners purchased the American Theater and got that up and running to a dinner and a movie concept at first, actually. So that is a 1940s Art Deco movie theater that has a mixed space. It's got a cinema with an actual movie screen. You can show anything. We do a lot of corporate events there, movie premieres, and then it also has a large ballroom space that has, you know, even more possibilities. It's very versatile for either rehearsal dinners. It's all indoors, so it is different from our other properties where there is no outdoor space, and it is more ballroom, you know, glam, Art Deco. So next door to that is the William Aiken House. That is a 1800s historic mansion. So very cool space. It has a very large courtyard, but I love the home because you can actually do things inside. So it has the ability to host maybe dinner, just more indoor space. So we see it's perfect for typically summer, winter, the months here where the weather's not as can be variable. Just have a good solid backup plan where it's temperature controlled. And then Lowndes Grove is out just about 15-minute drive from here, still downtown on the peninsula, but it's right on the Ashley River. So it has those coastal marshfront views, a 700-foot dock that you can walk out on and watch the sunset. And then the estate house is just a white home that has a porch. We can't do dinner in that house, but we've definitely done a lot of mingling and cocktail hours inside too. Next door to that is a sister property called the River House, so they're just sidekicks. River House is a little bit smaller, and we never want to have two weddings at the same time. So that one's more Monday through Thursday, great for rehearsal dinners, great for corporate events, more intimate, smaller events of like 100 or less.
Cool.
Yeah.
So I've seen, I guess, 4 of these. I didn't go over to the River House, but for me personally, I'm going to break the fourth wall here. I like the American Theater.
Yeah.
Like, that was seriously, like, that's my favorite. Maybe it's because I'm a guy.
It is so cool.
So awesome.
Sorry, microphones and everything.
No worries.
No, I like I really like the theater.
It is such a cool venue.
And because for me, it's all about no more cookie cutter kind of stuff.
Yes.
Not like, I love this space as well. Actually, I like all the properties, but that one's just like so cool.
It's the most unique.
It's completely different from anything.
Yeah,
and
I feel like you could have, and like some people like to have themed weddings, right?
Yep. We just did we've done a Sweet 16 over there, and like some
mitzvahs,
yeah,
after parties for sure.
Yeah.
I mean,
but with it being like the Art Deco theme, and it is the 20s now, you could be throwing some like roaring 20s parties in there, you know. Not to mention it's got some cool cultural things associated with it. You can tell us about the movie that's been filmed and used.
Yes.
That
so
space.
The Notebook, and I guess that was back 2005.
I think
it
so.
seems like
it was early 2000s like that.
Yeah, 2002 maybe.
I can't believe it's been that long. I was not working here at the time. I wish I would have met
Yeah.
Ryan Gosling and Rachel McAdams, but their first date was at the American Theater. So Noah asks Allie to be his date and takes her to the movies, and that's filmed at the American Theater. They watch a movie. They also lay in the street, which is King Street, right out here outside of this window.
The marquee.
Where they lay in, like, what is it, like the
They're
red
watching
flashing
the
light, the
traffic
traffic
light.
lights.
Yeah.
And that's filmed, mostly in all around Charleston, but luckily some of our properties were selected for that. The William Aiken House, Allie was putting her wedding dress on and sees Noah fixing up the old house in the newspaper, and she faints putting her wedding dress on, and that scene was filmed in the William Aiken House too.
Yeah.
So we've got that to hold on to. We don't do as much film as we'd like. It's tricky with our event schedule. Our events and weddings come first, of course. But when we can have it, it's a really amazing thing to see on the big screen.
Yeah, I think it's super awesome. So if I were to choose one of these spaces, like I would be interested in looking there just because it's so neat. It's so cool, and I like to see things that are different. So
when we can party till 2 a.m.
There you go.
There's no noise ordinance.
Right?
Our other properties, you do have to end a little earlier just because we are surrounded by neighbors and some, and just have to be courteous or follow the city ordinance. But the theater's amazing. You can go right till bars close.
Cool. Well, I'll flip it the other way then. As a DJ, if someone's getting married and wants to get married in Charleston, and you would like for me to DJ it, that's where I want to be. Okay. So like
automatically.
Yeah, right. Like, I mean, you can take me wherever else. But, if I have any influence in your wedding day, and I mean, for me, could we do it at the American Theater?
Yes,
let's do it.
Definitely.
But that's cool. So that's awesome. I really love the properties. Before you were doing weddings, like how did you decide weddings are what I'm into for you?
Yeah, so I went to college at Charleston, so I just kind of stuck around after I graduated, but I was a business and hospitality major. I did a ton of like corporate events in college. I had always, like, even in like high school and like kind of my progression through middle school, I had always really loved planning events, like just kind of like seeing the execution, seeing like everything come to life. I worked for MUSC's Children's Network and the Children's Fund over there, and planned events for, a good cause, in the sense where people were doing auctions and stuff, and all that money was being donated to the hospital. And that was super, super fun. It was very rewarding. And so that's what really got me pumped to do more of like events and kind of finding my niche in that. So once I started with the company, pretty much right after I graduated, I started as the assistant to our COO at the time. And then moved into the sales office and worked with Rach, and she's always been a great mentor. And so I did the properties for them and was the office coordinator over there. And then Parcel was a restaurant. We were open to the public. We did private events, but we were really limited to just up here. So when kind of, the crazy 2020 of COVID hit, we transitioned completely just because it made a little bit more sense to do what we were already doing best. And so I came over here permanently, and then it's been taken off like crazy. So I've been super, super grateful and found what I love to do, which is really this. And I love the selling, and I love seeing it happen.
Do you have mostly weddings in here, or is it corporate here?
I do a lot of rehearsal dinners and like welcome parties. So being that we have like 5 properties, I will say I'm very fortunate because sometimes they'll have their ceremony and their reception at like William Aiken House or Lowndes Grove, but then they need a rehearsal dinner or an after party location. I can also go until 2 a.m. So it's kind of nice to be able to give our clients like a range of options that they could do at this property specifically. And we offer concessions as well with multi-property discounts and trying to waive a few, things as we can. So we're super fortunate to have that. A lot of clients already seeing our properties in our whole portfolio.
Yeah.
Makes it easy for them too.
Yeah, exactly.
It's like, we'll take care of you start to finish.
Yeah, we check the boxes for most things.
Yeah.
Yeah, I feel like you could something for everybody somewhere here, and then also just have the logistics and the actual, what's needed to make like a super successful event.
Definitely.
And how did you get into this?
So I majored in hospitality and tourism at a small college in Western New York, actually Niagara University up in Niagara Falls. So pretty much as close to Canada as you can get. Really just loved hospitality, was drawn to, I was figuring out whether I wanted to be in hotels or event planning, so I did a ton of event planning classes and really liked it. I wasn't always wedding focused, but just event planning, like you said, like the logistics, really interested in that. I ended up after college working for a small luxury cruise ship that docked in Charleston, and got off the ship to explore the city like I always did, and I just fell in love with Charleston. So Charleston was a big driving factor to me ending up finding Patrick Properties. Eventually, after working at some hotels, figured out hotels weren't my direction, quit my job, moved to Charleston. I didn't have a job and just ended up coming across Patrick Properties, and I thought, this is the company that I've always dreamed of working for. They have all these amazing properties. I loved history. It just made sense, and I'm so happy that I did find it because I really love working here, love what I do. So I worked 3 years in the events department, working the events and weddings, and really like on the floor, managing everything start to finish, and then transitioned to the sales team, which is more behind the scenes, getting people started and finding their venue match. So it's been really wonderful and exciting.
When you were working, I guess, up there, because Niagara Falls, that's obviously a huge destination.
Yes.
A lot of people are going there, probably from all over the world, to have events. The events down here, Southern, it's a little, I feel like, I don't know anything about the event industry up there in that area. I'm assuming it's very different here.
Yes.
Like,
in so many ways.
Yeah. So what are some of the like bigger ways that there's like a difference?
I mean, really seasonal. So up north, there's really limited amounts of time where you can have outdoor venues, right? Like it's very seasonal there. Summer short, winter's long. So a lot of the places are indoor, fully indoor, because they have to be. And it's kind of what people like and expect, I've found, like from friends and family who've had weddings. It's just like hotel ballroom or just indoor ballroom feel, and it's beautiful and everything's in one place. I think the difference too is when it comes to the logistics of what goes into planning an event there, you have a lot that's covered with the venue you select. Like the ballroom would have all the rentals and basically everything all set up. In Charleston in general, I feel like a lot of places that you go to, you're building from the ground up. A lot of outdoor venues have beautiful locations, but the pictures you see on Pinterest or pictures that you see in magazines, they're all things that have been custom brought in or custom created and tailored for that event.
I feel the same, because my venue is up near Columbia in Lexington. Huge outdoor spaces, like, because we're in the country, so it's like 100 acres.
Oh wow,
amazing.
And you do have to bring, I mean, like, it's really pretty the way everything looks, you know, and we try to kind of make it easier for people, like, because I DJ. Of course, we have Scott, who's behind the camera, who does videography for us.
Yeah.
But you don't have to use us. Like, if they show up and they're like, hey, we want another DJ, I'm like, that's totally cool. I can go DJ somewhere else. If they want to bring in their own videographer, they don't have to use Scott, but we try to make it easy on them to do that. So when I give tours of the venue, I sometimes feel like I'm almost selling like the entire wedding. Mm-hmm. And for me, I feel like I'm doing a service. Sometimes I'm not sure if I'm doing a disservice, because I'm like, they're here to see a property. Mm-hmm. But then as we're like walking around and like talking about things, I feel like I'm saying, I mean, and people are asking me these questions too, like, how does bartending work here? Mm-hmm. And then I have to say, well, you can hire a caterer and then like streamline your bartending services through them. You can go with a bartending company, or actually we have an in-house person, but then you have to get into like certain insurance and things like that to, I guess, provide your own alcohol. How does that work here? Do you feel like you're selling whole weddings, or are you just showing the space? Like,
definitely, I feel like really the bread and butter of what we do is the food beverage piece and the staffing, because we do want to check those boxes and make it easy. So I mentioned a lot of the Charleston venues have outdoor spaces you build from the ground up. That can be the case at some of our properties if you want to go bigger and whatnot, but we do want to make it easier when it comes to those other items. So they don't have to look for a caterer. They don't have to look for who's going to be doing the staffing. We want to make that part easy. So we're usually about 50% of their overall wedding budget around there. because we do cover those high ticket items, but those big items that they won't then have to be looking for. So we want to also sell that experience of, building their custom menu, not just how pretty the venue is, but I think even a lot of our reviews, it's surprising people talk more about the experience they had in the service and the food than just the pretty pictures that they have to show for it.
I like that as well, because one thing that also drives me nuts is everyone's like, oh, how was so-and-so's wedding? And people are just like, oh, it was really pretty.
Right.
And it's like, that's
It was
all
beautiful.
they have. It was so pretty.
Yeah.
And that's all they have to like say about it.
Yeah.
And I'm like, okay, so I guess, they had a successful wedding, but then all the people are saying is it was just pretty.
Totally.
And like, you want them to say, oh, the service was like, I call it just like Disney level.
Yeah.
You
You
feel
know.
super taken care of, like royalty.
Right.
It should be like waiting on the king and queen, and all your guests should feel that way too.
Yeah.
And then the food, I think, is something you want people to talk about the next day in the best way. You don't want people saying, oh gosh, like from years to come, talking about the wedding food, we call it like
Yeah.
Yeah.
the rubber
standard
chicken.
banquet.
It's what
Yeah.
a lot of people experience, but we do have full service kitchens on each property. So it's more restaurant quality. We're able to expedite that quickly and fire it to order. So we pride ourselves on that because we do require people use us.
Yeah.
We can't have an outside caterer, so we want people to know that they're in the best of hands when it comes to the menu with us.
Yeah. And like when you go to a wedding or you go to an event, like 99% of the people, like they want to go to the bar. So like having that control of like, we really strive in the beverage program as well. Like we love custom cocktails. We love like making them pretty. Like we do want them to be Pinterest worthy, but we also like, we're open to anything really that's different. But it's hard to sometimes, having the staff and being they're held to our standard. They know what we expect. And sometimes that's an uncontrollable variable with some places just because you don't know, and right now especially I think everyone's dealing with different staffing issues, and we're very fortunate that we have people that have worked with us for a very long time. And
Like, what do you wish a bride would ask whenever she shows up? Or like, does that make sense? Because I want to be like helpful
Yeah.
to folks, and sometimes people have never bought a wedding before.
Right.
So the first thing they do is just call and they're like, how much do you cost?
right.
Because they have no idea what to ask, right? Or maybe they've seen the place before, they've even experienced a wedding here. But everyone's views and experiences are different, and every person who's coming to you like is a unique person. But it's just kind of like, is there something that you feel like you're having to explain? This is like a safe space now to where you're not talking to a particular client, to where you can just be like, this is what I really want to be able to tell people, to like explain to them, this is what's going to be best for your event. Do you have, I feel like that's a hard one I dropped on you right there. Or is it an easy one for you?
Yeah.
I mean, I think like for me, like I really need people to come in with their sense of budget, because like I don't want anyone to go into debt over a wedding. It's not worth it. Like, I mean, Rach, you just got married, so I mean, it's been a minute, but like, you remember all of that anyway, and I think that I wish that people would come into it a little bit knowing like the realistic expectations of their budget, and just finding like, I always ask my brides, like, what are the 3 most important things to you? And if they say like photography, like then I realize that that's probably going to be a significant amount of their budget that they might not realize right off the bat, or even videography, but it's so worth it. I mean, it's so fun. Like watching those videos back, and like all the, just all the amazing things that come out of just a live time video. Yeah, it's amazing, and I think it's 100% worth it. So it's like, then I realized that we might need to cut back in other areas of like decor, or like, something like that. So
Party favors.
right,
Yeah.
right. Like
Non-essentials.
we don't need cocktail napkins. We don't need cocktail.
You might not even need a photo booth,
Yeah.
You might not.
Yeah. Did you have a videographer at your wedding?
I did.
Yeah,
I
good.
thought it was
Good
worth
for
every
you.
penny.
It was so, her video
And we
makes me cry
live
every
streamed,
time.
so there were actually more cameras than people.
Yeah.
It's funny because I had 15 guests, very intimate.
Oh, yeah.
It was, yeah.
And live streamed, and then the videographer, and then the photographer. So I was like, wow, we have a crew. I feel like there's paparazzi here. There's a lot, but it was really well worth it, and people from home could enjoy
See, I like
their
that you
living
did
room.
that.
Yeah.
Because I feel like, some people, it's like, oh, I'm getting married, I want to go out and see these venues, and they think that they are going to be able to have this thing that they see on Pinterest because that's what's just like right there in their face. There's tons of it. So a lot of people are putting on these events or possibly just staging shoots, but it's not an actual paid for event. It's just, this is what we could do in an amazing, perfect world if money wasn't an option.
Literally.
Yeah, with models.
Right.
One tablescape, literally.
Yeah. It's like, it's the magazine stuff. It's not always real, but it could be real. I mean, just because you get your driver's license doesn't mean you get to go buy a Ferrari,
Right.
But there are ways that you can take elements of those things and make them real for a lot of people. So I feel that way too, that the party favors and flowers sometimes just break my heart because at the end of the night, that's all just getting thrown away.
Literally.
Yeah, or living in a junk drawer for a few years and then getting thrown away.
Yes.
Yeah.
Because you hang on to it, you feel bad throwing it away that
Oh,
wedding night,
right.
and then you find it a few years later and you're like, oh gosh, I feel bad, but
Now it's really gotta go.
We're purging.
When there's tons of leftover party favors that work, I'm just like, these are going to be my Christmas gifts for this year, and I'm just
Right.
But, it's like, what else?
Gifts.
What are you going to do with this stuff?
Yeah.
And I see it because if you give away food and things, people just ate a bunch. They ate cake and they're not necessarily always hungry and wanting to take that home. So at the end, you're throwing away all these bags of M&Ms with the couple's face on it. It's like
literally, I love the custom things. That's super awesome and it's super cute. But I just feel like sometimes it's so overdone, and it's you could have spent that money, going to a custom drink, a custom, I do say I love the neon signs. I think they're making I love them right now. I think they're really trendy, and just finding ways to still make it super unique, but being realistic at the end of the day, because I think that's also we're really good at finding shoulder dates for our clients, because especially at Lowndes Grove, that property is booking already in 2023. So it's crazy. So that books at an enormous rate versus Parcel is much more short-term booking. So it's we're really good at finding shoulder dates the Thursdays, the Sundays that aren't always booked quickly, because that also helps with budget.
Yeah,
and
people are flexible on the date and
right.
also the property, because we do want our properties to be able to, hardworking school teachers and people who we want to be able to accommodate all the budgets. So that's really our job when they come to us, is having that honest conversation, trying to, politely find out financially what it looks like, and then being able to guide them in the right direction. We like to do that before we even schedule a tour, because we don't want to get anyone's hopes up or waste their time.
Right.
So definitely honest conversations about that. Speaking of favors too, we had a couple who just gifted trees. So each guest got a tree planted in California instead of a favor.
That's amazing.
Love that.
That
was the first time I've seen
so
that,
cool.
But something
I did
that,
yeah.
where it's a charitable,
Yes.
So, yeah, when you were speaking earlier about the corporate events and some I think you mentioned fundraisers or something, but it clicked in my head first. I was like, why don't I see more fundraiser type things at weddings?
Yeah.
Yeah. Bringing awareness.
But something like that works. That's super cool.
Yeah.
I totally forgot that just happened. Yeah. And exactly. That's a perfect way of giving back. But doing something super custom and creative that your guests will be talking about. That's
really cool to have a tree in your name.
Absolutely. I think that's
you don't really think fundraiser
cool.
and wedding are the same thing, but doing something that's just I don't have the words that is a perfect example.
Yeah.
I really love that. That's cool.
Yeah. I
wonder how
happened.
how you go about doing something like that.
I can find out.
I wonder if it was through the Arbor Foundation or something like that.
Maybe.
But there's so many. That's a great idea.
But I always think stuff like is really cool. Or if there was a way that you could, I don't know, put on a wedding for someone else or something. I don't know.
Well, we get it. We're in the industry. This town is made up of 90% of people that work in this industry. They don't know what a holiday, they work holidays. So it's being able, Parcel, it was very important for me to keep the identity. When we were a restaurant, we had a local crew, we would have a good amount of industry people come in and enjoy our specials or happy hour. So it was important to me that identity maintained, in the sense where it was still a property, it's a home. We wanted our the people that make this city a home be able to come and celebrate here. So like being able to stay, you know, affordable in that sense for the people that make this city,
Right.
and all the workers that go into it. It's super important.
Have like a fun 40th birthday party here.
Absolutely.
Or baby shower or.
Yeah. And I mean, this is such a small city at the end of the day. So it's like we have so many vendors that we're friends with outside of work, that we work with. We have seen this city come together in the hard times through the great times, and it's really been cool to see, like, you know, I don't view a lot of the venues as competitors, even though they are, and financially, and sure, we lose business to them, but we're all just, it's a very close working hospitality industry, and I think Charleston's super lucky to have that. I don't think you can find that in a lot of places.
Not only is it just like beautiful here and everything, but it's probably another reason that this is like the number one wedding destination, like in this whole like region, right? Charleston is.
Oh yeah, it's like number
Second
one.
to Las Vegas, which we don't really count. I think Las Vegas is number one. Charleston is second.
Yeah.
I think the draws, there's something for everyone. You know, you have history, great food scene, restaurants, bars, but not just that. It's like the coastal.
Yeah.
You know, you've got beaches, you've got marsh. The weather's good here year round. I mean, if I'm not already selling people on coming to Charleston.
Yeah.
Right.
At the time they want to
Ticket
move there
now.
anyway.
Yeah.
Here's an odd idea, because I know Charleston does a lot of this kind of stuff, and I don't know because I'm not from here. Do people ever get married or do like the like pirate dungeon or cemeteries or anything like that?
Oh, like some of like the, you know, I don't think I've ever. I mean, beach weddings definitely
Right.
happen.
Yeah.
a
Like
ton.
I know that's gonna be super common.
That's a great question.
That
I feel
is a
like there
really good
has to be
question.
some people who've done it.
Yeah, because like the whole
Who
haunted
embrace it,
Charleston.
lean into
thing.
it.
Yeah. I mean, I think that like I really, that is a fantastic question, and I like, what is the like the Charleston prison that's like right up there on the Corridor and Broad?
Yeah, the dungeon.
Yeah, the dungeon. Yeah. I mean,
They've
that's
had corporate events
open.
there before, I know.
Yeah, and they've done parties in that ballroom, so
Yeah.
I feel like I do remember them. I remember doing a tour there, and they would host, when they had an event there, they would give the option for the tour, like for guests to come down to the
Oh,
dungeon
yeah.
and give them a tour during their event, which
Yeah.
I think is super cool. I always think it's fun to like, not like go crazy with an activity at a wedding, but like something that's kind of like
An experience.
you know, yeah, like giving your guests an experience, whether that be through food and beverage or
Haunting
Yeah,
them.
Yeah.
yeah, like a little
Scaring
haunted
them to
wedding thing.
death.
I mean, there's a lot of people who are into that, and I've got this
Yeah.
Halloween wedding that's going on this year.
Oh, that's so
that everyone's
cool.
dressing up, and it's going to be
love
very
that.
avant-garde with like the music and.
see, I think
so
that's
cool.
so cool.
So I'm pretty pumped for that, but I feel like they could easily do that here with like the actual
Totally.
like
I would
Charleston
love to see
history.
that, honestly.
Yeah.
That
You
would be.
I did this event recently, and it was called a heavy metal brunch, and it was part of the Columbia Food and Wine Festival.
Oh, wow.
And they're like shrimp. I think they use like squid ink on it. So like it was like all black shrimp.
Oh, wow.
And then they had these like Bloody Marys and like glass skulls with like roses and
so
stuff.
cool.
So cool.
And it was just like really neat. So I was like,
Yeah.
you know, it's a very special person who would want to do something like that for
Totally.
their wedding. But I always try to put that idea out there to people.
Yeah.
Like you don't have to do like this crazy
Right.
like whole thing with your wedding, but just change like one little bit.
Right.
You know, just to make it stand out. Like if you went on a dungeon tour at someone's wedding, you know,
That'd be so cool.
Yeah.
or if they filmed a video or something real quickly, did a day of edit, and you could like show it there in the American Theater.
Yeah.
That
Yeah.
like things like that could be super fun. Is there anything that has happened that's like
Can we
super?
pause you there?
Yeah.
Can you give me a plug and say Scott actually does that?
Oh, I can do that.
He
Sure.
does same day edits at
Yeah.
weddings, and then you can go on your question.
Okay,
Sorry.
sure. That's fine.
Yeah.
So speaking
Yep,
of the
so-
theater,
Yeah. So yeah, like if they showed a wedding day video at the American Theater by doing like a same day edit, which is something that Scott does.
That's awesome.
Yeah. So like he has a couple different packages, but like one of them you can upgrade to where it's almost like confession booth on like a reality show kind of thing.
Oh, that's so cool.
Yeah. And so your friends can like say a couple like funny things about you or whatever, and those get like thrown into the video.
Yeah, awesome.
And then you can do like a same day edit and like show that there.
Oh, that's awesome.
but-
That's such a great idea.
You could also make everyone come in and feel like they're like movie stars, like red carpet with like paparazzi kind of thing or something.
I feel like you're envisioning your
Yes,
event at the
I am. But then it's like everyone's a movie star, and then they get to like watch the movie, and then like
Yeah.
I don't know, press their hands in something, and that's the party favor. You get to
Oh,
take your
that's
like
super
Hollywood
cool.
star home.
Handhold.
I love it.
Oh, I love that. Look, let's just
let's-
have our party at the theater.
All right,
Taking notes.
all right. So anyway, that's my ideas for that.
No, I think it's
awesome.
I think it's super important that clients also connect with vendors. Like, you guys are fun, like people, like I would love to work with you all. Like, you have good energy. So like if you're not vibing with your vendor, like that's also a thing that is super important. Like, yeah, we want to work with everybody, but at the end of the day, like if we know it's not a good match, like we will politely help you. Like, you know, we understand. We don't want you to go into this. Most of it comes to financing.
It's not a business
Yeah.
transaction. It's a relationship
Right.
that you're building
Right.
from the beginning with your vendors, your wedding planner, you know, your team. And
Right.
at the end of the day, you want to feel comfortable with all these people who are going to be your close buddies throughout the planning and then day of too.
Right.
It's so important.
Yeah.
So I think that like, whenever a client comes to you, you can let them know that and be like, you realize like every person here, a lot of people just see people almost like commodities. It's like, oh, we need flowers. We need someone
Right.
to pour
Yeah.
drinks.
Right.
You know, we need someone to play some music. We don't need, and it's like, but each one of these vendors has been in this industry, seen a lot of things, and probably has some really cool ideas, tips,
Yep.
creative things that you could do. Like if you found that vendor that works like best to like listen to their ideas and like this stuff that we've come up with today is just like just you know
Yeah.
like
Just
that
getting started,
Yeah,
actually.
really.
Totally.
But yeah, so like your vendor is a very important asset to your wedding. Now you don't want to again like have all these like ideas and competing things, but like talk to the ones that you're really vibing with,
Right.
Yeah.
and be like, what could we do that's like super cool with this to make my wedding kind of stand out, so that they're not just like your wedding looks just like this other wedding that we
Right.
saw.
Right.
Yeah.
You know, I know vendors love to do different things. We don't like doing the exact same thing over and over
Yeah,
again.
Exactly.
Same with our like culinary team too. We talk about that a lot. Just like when they make the same menu items, people are always like, "Can we customize?" I'm like, yes. They would love to make anything else. Like, you know, they make a lot of the same stuff.
Yeah.
So same with the wedding planning. You know, let's really get creative and always focus on the couple too. I think that's most important, to circle back and rein it in to the bride and the groom or whoever's event it is. The focus should be on that and like what they want, and everyone will enjoy it. I think it's a lot of, we
Yeah.
talked about this earlier, of like people in the mix and different personalities and opinions and when it comes to the planning, but focusing on like what the wedding is about or what the event is about, getting it back to the basics of like, oh,
Totally.
what do you want?
Totally.
Yeah, there's so many different ways to party.
Yeah. Literally.
You know.
Yeah.
There's so many different ways to be creative, and people just, again, like, you know, finding those vendors that can help you come up with those
Make it come to
different
life.
things. And yeah, absolutely.
Yeah, because there's no real true set way to do stuff. There are ways that work better, but then you know, like,
Yeah.
I mean, you could do your ceremony at the end if you wanted to, I guess. You know, like have
Yeah.
dinner first and then do the ceremony at the end. But depends if everyone's hammered. You
Right,
know, like,
right.
Maybe not do that. But I guess you could if you like did it in a certain way. If you're a dry event and you want to do like a nighttime thing, but you don't want to wait till it gets dark.
I think that
You know?
like New Year's Eve weddings are like, that's a super, I know that that's always tough from a staffing perspective just because it's a holiday, but everybody loves New Year's Eve, and I think finding ways to like have doing weddings on New Year, that's just such a fun idea. And then it is cool. Like, then you could find, like, do you go until midnight? Do you go later? Like,
Yeah.
do you start later? Like, there's just a lot of ideas in that. And I think people could come up with some really cool things for that.
I've done some New Year's weddings that I've been out DJing, and they've chose venues that they have to be out by 11.
Yeah.
And then, of course, I'm just there packing my stuff
Right.
as the new year rolls in.
Right.
You know,
And people don't
but-
think about, like, like, where do you want to be at midnight? Like,
The midnight countdown, the ball drop.
right.
Yeah.
Right. You have to think, I think you have to think about that.
We're coming to the end here. We're going to wrap it up. We're going to do a quick story time and just tell about one thing that you saw at a wedding that was memorable. Could be good, could be bad, whatever made the wedding, like whatever one little thing stood out to you. We had a couple who wanted to fly in and come in by helicopter, and it was very, very windy on that day, like so windy, that they were just like, we're not going to be able to do the helicopter anymore. So I'm like, okay, I was actually kind of okay with this, you know, because I was like nervous. Like, this is at my venue, and I'm like so scared about like wind and helicopter.
Yeah.
But anyway, their ceremony was beautiful. The reception's great. I'm DJing the party, and it was getting like towards the end of the evening, which it's still daylight. And somebody tells me, Scott's doing the videography on this. But someone came up to me and they're like, hey, there's a helicopter outside. And I was like, the helicopter, is it on the ground already? You know, they're like, yeah, it's already on the ground. So I'm like, okay, well, that's good. Like, I'm fine with that. And they're like, they want to do their exit now so they can actually leave by helicopter. And so everyone lined up outside and they got in the helicopter and he took off and he did like a flyover and like passed by again. But like, that was like super neat. Like the adrenaline was like pumping for me on that.
Yeah.
But, like,
That's
that's
awesome.
and that's just never seen an exit like that before.
For real.
And you know, so you.
Well, I guess I'll go first.
Sure.
I mean, I feel like we've definitely like seen some crazy things with rain. Like again, we live in Charleston.
Weather.
Weather in general. But I guess here, my most memorable event this year was we had a wedding and I had their after party. And they were from Florida. They were definitely a wild group. Like they kind of, I think, felt like this was maybe like Miami Vice, and it definitely wasn't. So the DJ was going and they had a smoke machine, and I was like, and I told them when they were setting up, I was like, don't get crazy with the smoke machine because the fire alarm literally will go off. So we're like, whatever, chilling. It's like 1 a.m. And then like I'm upstairs and all of a sudden, like, I'm like, it's pretty smoky in here. And I go downstairs. 5 seconds later, the fire alarm goes off. And like, I mean, it was crazy. And like here you have to have a special key to like unlock it. And of course, like I don't have that key. So like, whatever. But it all was fine because the bride took pictures on the fire truck. Loved every second of it. And took pictures with the boys, and it was great. And so so all in all, it ended great. But I was literally like, okay, no more smoke machines.
I told you so.
Ever.
Yep, that's awesome.
Is very
that's
memorable.
better than I thought. I was gonna be like, well, did everyone evacuate? And you're gonna be like, no, they stayed
Oh no,
inside.
I got in trouble by the fire marshal because he was like, where is everybody? And I was like, they're still inside. They were like, you don't have an evacuation plan. And I was like,
I do now.
I mean, I do, but like, I know what it's from.
Yeah,
like, we're not
right.
even cooking anything.
Yeah.
They were, it was
That
funny.
is wild.
That is memorable.
Yeah, it was fun. Learned a lot.
Yeah. So,
I would say, like, weather-wise, just talking about that, two people come together and there's more of a camaraderie. I don't know if it's, like, celebrating like it's the sky is falling, because sometimes the sky really does fall here.
Literally.
So there's just a different party vibe when it is raining, and obviously this is when we've got tents and people are still comfortable and safe and they can have a great time still. But those are definitely memorable because it's always teams pulling together to make it pull off, without
Totally.
a hitch. So like moving things in a time crunch and whatnot. And then I guess memorable events are just anything that people incorporate their cultural aspect, like even just having like a bagpiper there if they're an Irish family. I love those touches. Having we did an Indian wedding where they had elephants. We had to kind of go through the city to have that approved in advance, but
Awesome.
they were able to be escorted in and have that element there on property. So things like that, and we're always welcome to like see, okay, we haven't done this before, but it's not an immediate no because we want to explore it and we love to see it.
Yeah.
Just like we talk about, weddings can be kind of the same or monotonous. So seeing things like that, I think, make it
We do love the hard
memorable.
questions. Like,
Yeah, I like being challenged like that.
Yeah.
I'm like, well, let's see, like, how do we figure this out?
Yeah.
And what can we do?
we just had a wedding at Aiken House, and they had an after party here. This was not the same after party, but they had the band escort them down King Street, so it was very like New Orleans
Oh,
style.
yeah. Yes.
And they came in, and like it was super cool. Like, and I mean, it was like 11 o'clock, so right now King Street is closed anyway, so it was really cool. And they got the
pictures.
The pictures were incredible.
Yeah.
So it's been
Things like that, I feel like.
it's been really we've had some good ones.
Yeah.
So it's not just traditional ceremony, first dance is cake cutting, bouquet garter, exit,
Right.
right? Like,
Yeah.
I mean, you can put all those things in there, but like, that's like the transitions, like, how are you going to get people, like, I'm thinking for my place, like, how can we do like a cool transition to, because we have a ceremony site and then they go over to our reception
that's
space.
cool.
Like, so now it's got me thinking, like,
Yeah.
what kind
Yeah.
of, like,
Elephants. No.
better things, right?
Animals.
Because usually right now, just the officiant's like, okay, and if everybody would like to go join, you're just going to walk out here and go this way. And some people get confused. They like go to their car and they want to like try to drive over there. And it's like, no,
People
it's a walk.
are looking
Right.
for
Like-
instruction. Like they're on
Oh my
vacation
gosh,
typically.
yeah.
Their brain is not working the way it normally does. So they need instruction and direction.
Yeah.
Yep.
Yeah.
So, all right. Well, we're going to wrap it up. But before we do, I would like for you to tell people how they can find out more information about booking any of these amazing properties, or
Yeah.
where they can find you on Instagram or anything like that.
Totally. I mean, we are part of Patrick Properties Hospitality Group, so you can find us at, if you're on Instagram, PPHG Events. We also, Parcel 32 is unique. We do have our own Instagram as well, so check us out on Parcel 32, at Parcel 32. And then myself, you can reach me at my email. My name is Rachel Starling, and my email is rstarling@pphgcharleston.com. Or you can go to our website and, inquire through that.
Website's great
Yes.
for that.
And of course, you can follow me at Events by Snow. And this has been the Inspire Your Event podcast. And thank y'all so much.
Thank you so much for
Thank
having
you.
us. This
Thanks
was
for
so
having
fun.
us.
Thank
This
you.
was a great time.
Thank you for listening to the Inspire Your Event podcast. Like, subscribe, be a part of the inspiration to change the way the world parties. Let's get out there and do this. No more cookie cutter weddings. Visit eventsbysnow.com for more information.